Life can be unfair. Imagine working hard, graduating with big dreams, only to face rejection after rejection. No job, no money, just pain. This is the story of Tunde, a young man who lost all hope and almost lost his life. But just when everything seemed over, something unexpected happened. Stay with me. This story might just change your life. In the quiet village of Aremu, where the early morning mist rolled over green hills and the sound of roosters signaled the start of a new day, lived a young man named Tunde. Born into a family of humble farmers, he was the only son of Mr. and Mrs. Adewale, two hardworking parents who had nothing to their name but the land they tilled and the love they showered upon their child. Though they were poor, they held one thing above all else: education. Tunde's father often said, "A man's true wealth is not the money in his pocket, but the knowledge in his head." From an early age, Tunde had understood that if he wanted to escape the circle of poverty that had chained his family for generations, he had to be educated. His parents believed in this too, sacrificing everything to send him to school. His mother sold akara by the roadside at dawn, while his father worked as a farmhand for wealthier landowners. There were nights when Tunde went to bed hungry because there was no food, but he endured. Whenever his stomach rumbled, he reminded himself that hunger was temporary, but success would be permanent. After years of struggle, he finally made it to the University of Ibadan, a moment that filled his parents with pride. His mother wept as she saw him off, placing her hands on his head and praying, "My son, may God bless you. May you never suffer as we have suffered." Tunde had left Aremu with big dreams. He swore to return one day as a successful man who would lift his family out of poverty. After 4 long years of studying, sleepless nights, and countless exams, Tunde finally graduated. He stood proudly in his black gown on convocation day, holding his certificate as if it were a golden key to the future. "I will get a job," he told himself. "A good job, a job that will change my life." With hope burning in his heart, he packed his small bag and moved to Lagos, the city of endless opportunities. At first, he was optimistic. He woke up early every morning, dressed in his neatly ironed shirt, one of the few he owned, and went from office to office submitting job applications. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. Each day he checked his email, hoping for good news. Instead, rejection after rejection came in. "We regret to inform you that you have not been selected. We are looking for someone with more experience. We have already filled the position." The words stung like 1,000 needles, piercing his skin. "How am I supposed to gain experience if no one will hire me?" he muttered to himself. His little savings ran out. He could no longer afford transport fares to job interviews. He ate once a day if he was lucky. His dreams began to dim. Eventually, he had no choice but to take menial jobs to survive. His first job was as a waiter at a roadside restaurant in Yaba. He spent long hours on his feet, serving customers who barely acknowledged him. Some insulted him when their food took too long. Others tossed money at him as if he were a beggar. One day, a man spilled his drink and instead of apologizing, yelled, "Are you blind? Clean this up, idiot!" Humiliation burned in Tunde's chest, but he swallowed his pride. He needed the money. When the restaurant could no longer afford to pay its workers, Tunde was let go. Desperate, he found another job at a petrol station, pumping fuel for impatient car owners. Some days, he worked in the scorching sun. Other days, he walked in the rain. The pay was low and the disrespect was high. One evening, an old friend from university drove in a brand new car. Tunde, the friend said, looking shocked, "You work here?" Tunde forced a smile. "Yes, for now." The friend shook his head and sighed. "I thought you'd be doing big things by now." The words cut deeper than any blade. That night, Tunde sat on the floor of his small, dimly lit room, staring at the peeling ceiling. "How did my life turn out like this?" he whispered. Weeks passed. The job rejections continued. The pain grew heavier. One day, after receiving another rejection email, something inside Tunde snapped. He walked aimlessly through the busy streets of Lagos, his mind clouded with dark thoughts. "I am a failure. I have let my parents down. What is the point of living?" When he returned to his room that evening, he sat on his bed, staring at a small bottle of rat poison he had bought from the market. "This is the only way," he whispered, tears rolling down his face. His hands trembled as he opened the bottle. Then he drank. Pain tore through his stomach. Instantly, his vision blurred. He fell into the floor, gasping for breath. His body convulsed, and darkness swallowed him. Hours later, a familiar voice pierced through the silence. "Tunde, Tunde, wake up!" It was his mother. She had traveled from the village to surprise him, only to find her son lying on the floor, barely breathing. With the strength of a desperate mother, she screamed for help. Neighbors rushed in, carrying him outside and hailing a taxi. They reached the hospital just in time. The doctors worked tirelessly to save him. For 2 days, Tunde was in coma. When he finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was his mother sitting beside him, her eyes swollen from crying. "My son, why?" she wept. Tunde turned his face away in shame. "Mama, I failed. I had no hope left." She took his hands in hers, her grip firm. "My son, life is not a straightforward road. It bends, it twists, but it always moves forward. You should never have given up." Then, with a trembling smile, she added, "While you were unconscious, someone called. You have been offered a job." Tunde frowned, thinking he was still dreaming. "A job?" "Yes," his mother said, her face breaking into a wide smile. "An oil firm in Port Harcourt, a 6-figure salary." His heart pounded. The very thing he had been waiting for had come after he had almost thrown his life away. Life will test you, but remember, your breakthrough might just be around the corner. Never give up. Tunde almost lost everything, but he held on just long enough for his life to change, and so can you. What do you think about this story? Have you ever felt like giving up? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video to spread hope. Subscribe for more powerful stories. Share this with someone who needs motivation today. Your story isn't over yet. Keep pushing forward.